The Money Thermostat, Chapter 10, Why Your Money Feels Heavy, and Why It Always Has.
So this is chapter 10, and we've got a beautiful picture of two sort of figures, one with their hand on the other one's shoulder, and they've got like a circle above them and a love heart, and it says, compassion appears when fixing falls away. So I think that's quite profound. So we're moving on to chapter 10 now. Chapter 10, when money feels heavy and why it always has. There are days when money feels very heavy. Not heavy because of the bills, not heavy because of the numbers, not heavy because of what you earn or what you don't earn, but heavy because of the meaning your system attached to money long before we ever touched it. Maybe you felt it too. That tightness in your chest when you open your banking app, that sinking feeling when an unexpected expense hits. That wave of shame when you can't explain why you're stuck again. That fogginess when you try and plan your future and it feels impossible. That exhaustion from holding the weight of, I should be further along by now. There's a song, I don't know if any of you know it. I'm now 52. There's a song, it's called Wear Sunscreen. I'd highly recommend that you listen to that. I'm not a fan of wearing sunscreen because I cover myself in coconut oil. That's a story for another day. But there's a lot of wisdom in that song. Like a really, really amazing song. So I would definitely like to recommend everybody just stops now for a second and goes and finds Wear Sunscreen. I don't know who it was the 90s song. But there's a lot of wisdom in that song. So let's go back, sorry. So that wave of shame when you can't explain why you're stuck again. Oh yeah, why I was bringing that song up, sorry. I got distracted there. There's a bit in there that says most, I think it's either 40 or 50-year-olds in the song that still don't know what they want to do with their lives are the most interesting people I've ever met. That's part of the wisdom in that song. That's why I was bringing that up, sorry. That fogginess when you try and plan your future and it feels impossible. That exhaustion from holding the weight of, I should be further along by now. So that references that song. If any of that feels familiar, you are not broken. You are human. And yes, your thermostat is talking to you or talking to us. So I've got a little thermostat here, a little picture of a thermostat. It's got a little speech bubble coming out of it, and it says, hey, are you ready for another truth bomb? So if you're ready, let's fly to the next page. So we're just going to click it. This is another truth bomb. The story you were given about your money, none of it was ever neutral. Never, ever. So let's just do that again. The story we were given about money was never, ever neutral. And if you think about all the chapters we've listened to already, if you've listened to them, then that is definitely true. So let's go to the next page. There's a little picture of an alien in a spaceship and a little alien standing next to him doing the peace sign. And it says, nobody arrives on this planet with money beliefs. We absorb them. We inherit them. We felt them emotionally, long before the mind could ever make any sense of anything. There's a picture of a little girl and then a load of question marks and a little sort of brain there as well. So maybe money in our childhood meant tension, silence, arguments, sacrifice, unpredictability, guilt, secrecy, hierarchy. Is that right? Secrecy, hierarchy, I think so. Shame, survival, and being careful. Being grateful for scraps and walking on eggshells. If money carried emotional weight back then, which I'm guessing it did, because it did for most people, I think, your body, or my body, our body, still carries it now. Not because the past is happening, but because our nervous system doesn't know it's ended. Our body remembers what our mind forgets. So that's an important one there, so I think we need to write that one down. Our body remembers what our mind forgets. I don't know about you, but I can't even remember yesterday, laugh out loud. This is why money feels very heavy. There's a battle going on. Your mind says, I want more. And your body says, more felt unsafe last time. Your mind says, I'm ready to rise. And your body says, rising means losing something important. Your mind says, I'm changing. Your body says, no, change is dangerous. This isn't weakness. It isn't immaturity. This isn't not being disciplined enough. This is biology doing what biology does. It protects. Your money thermostat, or our money thermostat, was shaped emotionally, so we have to heal it emotionally. So another truth bomb here. We have never failed. You never failed. You felt overloaded. So we never failed. We felt overloaded. Think of a river carrying too much debris. It slows, it jams, it chokes on what was never meant, on what it was never meant to hold. So let's do that again. Think of a river carrying too much debris, maybe after a flood or some kind of natural disaster. It slows, it jams, because it chokes on what it was never meant to hold. So think of that in terms of our life. So we have been carrying debris too. So for example, old expectations, old disappointments, old inherited fears, old comparisons, old internalized shame, old emotional contracts, old beliefs about our worth, old memories of money, especially equals danger. Old stories you didn't write but lived anyway. Of course it felt heavy. Of course we slowed down. Of course we stalled. Of course we avoided looking at our finances. And of course we froze. And the big one is nothing was wrong with us. Our river just needed clearing. So this is the moment the weight shifts. There comes a moment, and maybe it's happening right now, when the heaviness begins to lose its authority. Not because our circumstances change, but because we changed our position inside our circumstances. Now there's a picture of a person holding a stop sign. It says stop. You stopped asking what's wrong with me, what's wrong with us, and we started asking, what am I carrying that was never mine? And there's a picture of somebody dropping a mic there. So I'm going to go back to that page. So the stop sign says, you stopped asking what's wrong with us and started asking, what are we carrying that was never ours to carry? So when we start asking, what am I carrying that was never mine? We stop bracing for disaster. We stop assuming we're going to fail. We stop confusing survival mode with who we actually are. And something softens, something warms, and something opens. We begin to breathe in places that used to be tense. We begin to see in places we used to shut down. And we begin to receive in places we used to shrink. This is the beginning of the heaviness lifting. Lightness is not a luxury. Lightness is not a luxury, it's a sign of alignment. When money starts to feel lighter, even before anything in your account changes, that's really important. So we're going to go over that again. Lightness is not a luxury, it's a sign of alignment. When money starts to feel lighter, even before anything in your account changes, that's your thermostat rising. Lightness means our system feels safer. Our desires feel less threatening. Our inner critic is softening. Our nervous system is unlearning old alarms. We're stepping into a new identity. We are no longer carrying inherited fear. We are no longer living someone else's thermostat. This isn't magical thinking. Oh, so this is a bit of a weird one. So bear with me. So on the page, so I'm just getting to the page where it says this isn't magical thinking, it's, and it's ... And then I press the button to move to the next page, and there's two characters looking at something that says surprise, and it says please excuse the interruption. River here, that's me. I just want to say a huge thank you for reading this far, and I do. Thank you. And there's a picture of me, and then there's a picture of two little characters hugging. So that's a hug from me to you. Before we go any further, so this is a little bit I've put in to just share a little bit of my journey. I want to pause with you for a moment right here, exactly where we are. We've already travelled further than most people ever let themselves go. We've been willing to look inward, to feel, to question, to open, even when it wasn't easy. That deserves to be recognised and honoured. And I want you to know something simple and true. I am here with you fully right now, and I am. And I'm not a teacher, I'm not above you. I definitely don't have all the answers. But as someone who's walked through their own shadows, felt their own confusion, and found their way out, or finding their way out, slowly and gently, back to themselves, so back to myself. I didn't grow up with somebody cheering me on. I definitely did not. I spent most of my life navigating things alone, which I did. So from a very early age, I don't know why, but I've took girlfriends to meet my parents before when my dad was still here. And I'm good at talking. I could talk all day. I'm good at listening as well. But I've took them to meet my parents, and I've come out an hour later or 2 hours later, and the girlfriend sort of said, "What was that?" Because when I'm in the presence of my parents, I don't say anything. Because from a very early age, I knew that whatever I said was wrong, so I decided just not to say anything. So when I say that I didn't grow up with someone cheering me on, I spent most of my life navigating things alone, that is very, very true. So what I offer you here isn't advice from a pedestal, definitely not. It's companionship from the same ground you're standing on. You're doing something real, you're choosing yourself, which is amazing. You're turning inwards instead of outwards, and that's rare, and that's powerful. As I'm writing this, I had an idea to offer you a hug while the song True Colours was playing, but as I'm writing this now, live, a song came on. This was when I was actually writing it, and now I'm crying, so I was crying when I was writing it, I remember it. I write this to you from my heart to yours, and I'd ask, would it be okay to have a hug while we're listening to a song, not my original choice, but such a beautiful song. And I'm sobbing now. Please listen to the words and know I love you. And as we walk each other home, Ramdas. And then the song is, it's in the book, so if you want to get the book and listen to the song at that moment, it's an incredible song. And I forgot I actually wrote this, and I'm just thinking about it now. I'm feeling into it. And yeah, what a powerful, powerful song. So the next page. I want you to know something simple, but something real. I love you for being here, for choosing yourself, for walking this far with me. We're walking together, remember. Before we lift off again, I want to share a tiny 7-second moment with you. So there's a little video clip there that you can click. It's just a reminder. I'll tell you what it is. I don't know if you've seen the film Avatar, but Avatar is it's an amazing film. I've not seen the new one yet. I don't know whether you have, but I'm going to see it. And in it, there's some characters in there. I can't remember who they are, but one of them's in some kind of pod, and he embodies this. I can't remember what they're called. So this kind of creature, this blue creature, and this blue creature sort of falls in love with a native blue creature. But the other blue creature is not actually a native, because he's actually controlling it from sort of his mind. But in it, there's a bit where it says, "I see you." So that's the 7 seconds there. So I see you. So being here. So thank you for being here. For yourself rather than for me. So just a little reminder, you're not walking this path alone. Not in this book, not in this moment, and not in your healing. Thank you from my whole heart. Let's have 2 more songs before we fly again. So in the book, there's 2 more songs there we can listen to. So some links. And the next page is a picture, quite a big picture of somebody putting a cape on. And now cape on, chins up, hearts open, and we'll get back to flying again. All my love, me, River. So, and then it goes to, is it just me, or do we both have deja vu? So there's a little picture of me in the top. And it says, lightness is not a luxury, it's a sign of alignment. I'm sure we've done this page, hence why it says deja vu. But we'll read it again. So when money starts to feel lighter, even before anything in your account changes, that is our thermostat rising. Lightness means our system feels safer, our desires feel less threatening, our inner critic is softening, our nervous system is unlearning old alarms. We're stepping into a new identity. We are no longer carrying inherited fear. and we are no longer living someone else's thermostat. That's a big one. This isn't magical thinking. It's our nervous system science. When the internal pressure drops, capacity expands. So that's a big one there. So when internal pressure drops, and that's from perspective change and uncovering those patterns that used to run our lives in our subconscious from when we were like 1 to 7, capacity expands. And when capacity expands, our money life begins to shift in ways that we once thought it was impossible. Even the word impossible, I don't know if you know this, if you get the word impossible and you split the I am and the possible, and you get I am possible. So that's interesting. You're doing this beautifully. I want you to breathe this in with me. So let's take a breath. Hold it. And out. So I want you to breathe this in with me. So take a breath again. And I'm going to read to you. There was never anything wrong with you. There was only the weight you weren't meant to carry, the fear you inherited, the stories we absorbed, and the settings we never chose. Meaning, we didn't understand at the time, and we're already putting that weight down. So we're putting it down gently, wisely, and courageously. And I'm sure the word courage comes from living from the heart. So we're doing this living from the heart. And then there's a little image of a heart giving itself a hug. So we're not behind, we are becoming. And this chapter marks the moment the heaviness begins to shift. And that is the end of chapter 10. So in a minute we're going to go chapter 11. This is the end of book 1. You've come to the end of book 1, not because everything is fixed, not because you've reached the destination, but because something important has been released. We've stopped carrying what was never ours to carry, old fears, inherited stories, the constant bracing for things to go wrong. And when that weight begins to lift, even slightly, there is often a quiet moment that follows, a moment where nothing needs fixing, nothing needs proving, nothing needs deciding yet. This page is for that moment. If you feel lighter, if your body feels a little softer, if something inside of you has stopped holding its breath, that's not an accident. Take a breath here. So let's breathe. Hold. And release. So we are allowed to pause at this threshold. Book 1 was not about changing our life. It was about changing the ground we stand on. It was recognizing the fears that we inherited, the meanings we absorbed, the settings we never consciously chose, and the gentling loosening of their grip. That's why things may feel just a little bit lighter now. Even if nothing around you has changed yet, lightness is not the finish line. Lightness is capacity. It's space. It is what allows movement to happen without force or self-betrayal. So, right, we're going to go over to book 2 in a second. So book 2 does not ask you to try harder. That's good news. It invites us to notice something new. What choices become possible when you are no longer living in survival mode? So we've got the same world, we've got the same money, and it's the same us, but a different nervous system holding the wheel. So when we're ready, we'll take the next step together. And I'll see you in book 2. So book 2, that's chapter 11, I think. So we'll leave that there, and I'm going to get book 2.